Okay, so my name is Ilke Lemsink. I work at Framer. Here's a slide with me. So I'm the VP of engineering at Framer. And for those who don't know Framer, let me give you some context. So let's see. This is Framer. This is a product for designers, to make designs and prototypes. So this is basically very small, but you can draw your rectangles as you expect in a design tool. We have some cool features in that we do like layout guessing. So if I put this at the bottom and then I will resize this, the wrong one, resize this thing, the outside frame, it will stay fixed to the bottom. It will not move it. But the coolest thing that we have is that you can use components in Framer. So you can use code like React components inside Framer, and you can even get them from a store. So we have a store built inside the app, and we have like desktop kits from various things, but also more silly things. Oh, did I set up the network? Okay, I didn't connect the network, but believe me, like a YouTube player, so you can bring your components in your design and work with your production components even, and use them in your design tool to set up flows, set up screens, stuff like that. So that's Framer. And I'm going to talk a bit about just how we set up our hiring process, because I think we're doing things a bit different than some other companies. But it's a very open talk. This is just an experience talk. I don't think we're doing some things not well, so I'm just sharing what we do, how I think it should be improved, and I'm also very interested in talking to you what your ideas are. Okay, so we're hiring, as all companies, and one of the most important roles we're hiring for is the product engineer. And this is very much a role where we look beyond the technical skills. So product engineer means you have like a product mindset. So this means you're working on features that you're thinking about the user. That's an important part of it. But you're also thinking about maintenance, right? So this is not a small project for a client that you will bill and not see again. This is something you need to build the stuff that you need to work with for years. So all these things are, I think, very different than many engineers. And product engineer also means you're able to ship things. Like there's no deadline from a client or anything. You need to be yourself able to really implement stuff, features, bring them to fruition, work with other people to ship them. So a lot of skills, and I think in many cases we're looking for like really like unicorn type people. So the interviews that we do to find these people consist basically of two parts. So the first one is a coffee meeting. So this is also a culture check, right? So you just meet with somebody, have a coffee or something else, just talk for 30 minutes about their background, their experience, whatever. Can be technical. It depends a bit on the person, but you can already ask some easy technical questions just to find out how somebody thinks about it. But it's not really the technical interview. So if we are convinced that we might hire this person, we will continue talking, and then we go into the deeper interviews. So the most important part of that interview is 2 times an engineering interview of 45 minutes. And what we do, instead of like quizzing people or putting them in front of a whiteboard or whatever, we basically ask them to bring code that they're proud of. So just bring any code that you made. It can be, it can literally be anything. It can be your previous project, it can be a project from 5 years ago, and just talk with us about the code. We'll spend talk about other stuff than just the code, but people bringing code and talking about it is for us a really good way to check how people think, how they communicate about the code, how they structure their code. Like what parts they like, and you can easily always find things like, oh, how could this be improved, or what did you particularly like about this, and you can find out how quickly will they jump to the really interesting part of the code, like what the core of the problem is. So that we do it 2 times with 2 people. And then of course it is a product engineering role. So another thing we do is the product interview, and this is almost always also with a founder of the company. And we will ask people about what do they think of design tools, which design tool do they like best, what do they think about Framer, what do they think should be improved on Framer, what would they like to work on, all these kinds of things, and really take like not only the technical side into consideration, but also the level of thinking that is required to be, well, effective for the business, basically. So you have to be able to really understand what we're trying to achieve with Framer as a business, and being able to reason also on this level on why certain features would be important or wouldn't be important. So this has ups and downsides, the downsides I would say. So the main thing that works, I think, is that this checks for the skill of communication, right? Because as a startup, especially one that is scaling quickly, we're growing quite rapidly right now, like lots of work will be the communication itself, and people that can communicate well and effectively and quickly are really important in that setting. Also, we're finding great people. Like I think we have a great team right now. Nobody has left. The retention is good. We're shipping product, so that's working. And interviewing is fun, because if you ask people to bring code, they will bring like I don't know, like stuff written in crazy programming languages that you never heard of, or they have built their own virtual machine or whatever. Like it can be anything. So it really, I've done a lot of interviews where I came out and I actually learned something, which is always, I think, well, that's keeps it interesting. The downsides, room for improvement, as you can imagine. One of the things, it can be time consuming. As I laid down the structure, so we go straight from coffee interview to full-on session with lots of interviews, and we're not filtering people out on a technical skill level. I think this is the main thing we should improve a little on, like do some kind of technical check. Although for most of the people that we're hiring right now, we're hiring quite senior people, so it's not hard to see that they have the technical skills, but this is definitely something I want to improve, because we are spending a lot of time sometimes on people that we end up rejecting, and it's just a waste of time, both for us but also for the person to go through all the interviews and then be disappointed. It doesn't really work for the more junior hires for the same reasons I just outlined, right? So if we are not doing a technical check, it's sometimes hard to predict at what level people are, and maybe junior people don't really have an interesting project yet that they have worked on. They might be very talented, they might have done great work, but maybe it's all proprietary, they can't show anything, etc. So that's also something we're working on to improve. And last but not least, it's somewhat unfocused, right? You never know. If somebody brings a project that's actually not that interesting, well, it's also a good signal that we might not want to hire them, but we do expect certain skills from people, and it's not always clear for the people that are interviewing, like what to check for to make sure that we checked all the boxes for this person. So these are the things we already know to improve, and we're working on. I think that's it.